Brand loyalty when it comes to cameras and photographic equipment is a funny thing. The Northrops did a video a little while ago where Tony explained that he really just can't understand brand loyalty, and that he's changed cameras as and when he needs to. If it doesn't do what he wants it to do, he switches. And yeah, I get that, Tony, I do. I really do. But for most of us, photography either isn't a business or it isn't a business that generates us huge amounts of revenue. So we have to think really carefully about the gear we choose. And when you buy into a photographic system, like Pentax, for example, you spend most of your money not on the cameras, but on the glass. And once you're in that glass, you know your glass has been well looked after, you know what condition it's in, you understand it, and it's hard to make the jump to another system financially, because obviously you don't get back what you paid for it. But equally, there is a learning curve that goes with switching systems, as I'm sure you're aware. The menu system of an alternative system can be a little bit scary, having to learn everything from start to finish, especially if you get used to a system that you can operate with your eyes closed almost, certainly without looking at the camera. So there's that. But for me, one of the big things about brand loyalty, and I was telling you this now, I'm considering switching away from Pentax at the moment in a staged and managed way. But one of the big things is the community, especially with Pentax. There is a feeling that there is a community there. We're all part of it. We all help each other. And the Pentax community is fiercely loyal. Switching away from the brand is also switching away from the community to some extent. So I think there's that there. But then the logical part of your brain, I've always said that you should stick with what you've got until it's not doing what you want to do anymore, or you feel it's holding you back. In the last few months, in my other job, the one that actually pays all the bills, the photography stuff is, I like to say, it's a hobby that pays for itself, in theory. But you know, you always spend more on stuff than you need to when it is a hobby. Anyway, I take photos for the other business. I've needed lately to take a lot of photos of myself. That isn't going to change. The way that I've tried to do that using my Pentax cameras is it's mainly headshot studio stuff. Is put the camera on the tripod, stick it in a live view face tracking mode, continuous autofocus, use the little remote trigger in order to get the camera focused and set it away, set it on the slowest continuous burst setting possible so that the studio lights can keep up. Just switch position as soon as the pop goes. I'm very uncomfortable in front of the camera, as I think most people are. And generally, I think the photographer's main job is to make people relax. So I find the burst mode, if you're taking photos of yourself, gives you that opportunity to relax a little bit in front of the camera, without having to think about the technicals of getting it focused, etc. The problem with the Pentax system is it doesn't refocus between frames, which is causing me a lot of problems. I'm here in the studio today because I'm about to reshoot some headshots where I took about 80 frames a few weeks ago, and I'm reviewing them for use. Well, there was probably 10 images in there that I was happy with the expression on, and therefore could be used. Of the 80 or so frames, I think there was only maybe 10 that were in focus, and they weren't the ones that I wanted to use. So at the moment, I'm giving serious consideration to letting go of my Pentax K3, which is my backup body. I've been waiting for the K new forever and a day, and it just isn't coming. And when the information I'm releasing about it just isn't impressing me. Selling off my APS-C lenses, putting that money towards maybe getting a Sony A7 III with its extremely reliable autofocus, which does track in burst mode when remote triggered, and picking up a standard zoom lens to get me going with it, maybe a Sigma 24-70 f2.8 or a Tamron 28-75 f2.8. Those are the initial thoughts anyway. By getting rid of my APS-C stuff at the same time, I hope to fund at least some of it. The thing about switching systems is you feel like it's not the system, it's me. But actually, in this instance, I don't see anything more that I could do other than constantly refocus and reframe. in order to make the Pentax work. Now, I don't expect to get better image quality. I don't think anybody does better image quality than Pentax. I think brands do on a par with Pentax, but nobody beats it. So it's definitely not a reason to switch for that, but the availability of affordable third-party glass, modern glass, is appealing. The ergonomics appear to be awful, but I suppose that's something you have to get used to. The plan would be to hold on to my K1 and all my full-frame glass that I use in the studio all the time with other people, and try using the Sony as a backup to see if I can live with it. And if I can't, then sell it and get something else. One of the issues, of course, with selling Pentax stuff is it doesn't hold its value very well. So we shall see. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on whether you think I'm making the right move, making the wrong move, the different technique I could be using in order to be able to set it firing away rather than having to continually focus on the technicals of using the Pentax like that, and by all means, fire away, tell me in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen, and I'll speak to you soon.